We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca wrote those words nearly 2000 years ago, yet they perfectly explain the modern struggle of procrastination. We spend hours dreading a task that takes 20 minutes to complete. We build a prison of anxiety in our mind. But why is that? Why do we avoid doing things we know will improve our lives? I spent the last month diving into neurochemistry of discipline to answer this question. This is what I found. Let's start with the overview of the video. Here's the blueprint for today's deep dive. First, we are going to look at the biology of later and why you are physically wired to seek comfort. Second, we will discuss the dopamine trap, specifically how cheap dopamine destroy your motivation. And third, we will apply the Newtonian physics to apply to your daily routine. And finally, we will look at the Zeigarnik effect, a psychological loophole that you can use to trick your brain to enjoying hard work. Let's start with the part 1, the civil warning you had. To solve the problem, we must understand the machinery. The brain is essentially in a constant civil war. On one side, you have prefrontal cortex. This is the newest part of the human brain. It is a CEO. It wants you to exercise, save money, and work on your business because it understands the future. On the other side, you have limbic system. This is the ancient reptilian part of the brain. It only cares about survival and conserving energy and feeling good right now. My biggest learning was this, that procrastination is not a character defect. It is an emotional regulation failure. When you stare at a difficult task, your limbic system starts working and register it as a threat. Not a physical threat like a tiger, but a threat to your comfort. Your brain tries to protect you by directing you to Netflix, gaming. You aren't lazy, you are just biologically conflicted. This leads us to the fuel of the brain, dopamine. Most people think that dopamine is about pleasure, but research from Dr. Anna Lemke, author of Dopamine Nation, shows that the dopamine is actually about craving and pursuit. And here is the dangerous part. We live in a world of cheap dopamine. When you wake up and immediately scroll through your TikTok or Instagram, you are flooding your brain with unearned reward. You create a massive spike, and what goes up must goes down. When that spike drops, it doesn't go back to normal. It is below your baseline. In this dopamine deficit state, doing boring work like studying or writing a report feels physically painful. You have drained your motivation battery before the day has even begun. If you cannot focus, it's not because the work is too hard, it's because your baseline is too low. There's one more thing that I realized, that productivity is also physics. Isaac Newton's first law states that an objective at rest stays at rest. If you are lying on the couch, you are an object at rest. The energy required to stand up and start working is immense. In physics, this is called static friction. However, the law continues. An object in motion stays in motion. That is called kinetic friction. My learning here changed everything. The pain of working is not linear. The pain is concentrated entirely in the first starting moment. When you push past the static friction, which usually lasts about 2 to 5 minutes, that work becomes relatively effortless and you enter into a flow state. You don't need enough energy to finish the project. You only need enough energy to overcome that static friction. Now we have discussed the biology and the physics of procrastination. Now let's get back to the practical application. Here are the 3 steps that I'm using to rewire my brain. First step is 10-minute delay. Whenever you are working and you feel the urge to check your phone or check the notification or something, just wait for 10 minutes. It can work with any urge that you have, whether it can be eating junk food or something like that. Tell yourself, I can do that, I can check my phone, but I still have to wait for 10 minutes. These are like waves. They rise, they peak and fall. And most people give in at the peak moment. If you wait 10 minutes, the wave crashes and your prefrontal cortex will take back the control. The next method is Hemingway method. This step exploits the Zeigarnik effect. Psychologists discovered that your brain remembers unfinished tasks better than the finished one. The brain hates the open loop. You can use this to your advantage as well. When you finish your work for the day, do not finish the chapter. Do not finish your email. Stop literally in the middle of the sentence or something like that. This leaves an open loop in your brain. Like your brain remembers like there's some pending task, right? In the next morning, you won't struggle with a static friction because there is always pending task, right? Because your brain it get desperate to close that loop. It makes starting 10 times easier. The morning fast. Third step is morning fast. For the first 60 minutes of your day, consume nothing. No phone, no news, and no intense music. You need to let your brain chemistry reset. If you bore yourself in the morning, the hard work you have to do later will actually seem interesting to your brain. Boredom is a prerequisite of productivity. Now to conclude, stop waiting until you feel like it. Based on the biology we discussed, you will never feel like it. Your limbic system wants you to be safe and comfortable. You have to reverse the equation. We think we need motivation to take action, but in reality, the action is what creates the motivation. Push past the friction, protect your dopamine, and build the life that you deserve. If you found value in this video, subscribe for more practical deep dives, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.